Where is everybody today? Everybody's
You're
working.
on the cloud. Well, Dawn's in Italy.
Yeah.
Let's see. You're on the cloud recording, and we're going to talk about the BRBC, the challenge side of it. So I have been looking, just to give you some background, I have been looking for about 3 or 4 weeks for an agent, anywhere, anytime, to tell me some horror stories about trying to implement the BRBC. And the same answer that I get all the time is not, it's great. It's been a slam dunk, piece of cake. Everybody signs it. Everybody's happy. I get paid. Nobody complains. It's all wonderful. That was also my experience with the BRBC. I think I've got 4 of them executed, but it's really not fair because all of those people that I've executed a BRBC with have purchased at least 2 houses from me in the past. So we know each other. We know each other really, really well. And they're not worried about it, right? So I'm scouring. I'm on social media. I'm talking to people that I do as I run around all the time. And I can't find anybody to do anything except tell me, no, it's great. No, it's wonderful, right? All I had to do was look inside our own office because Michael has been getting some blowback on the BRBC. And if I understand it right, it goes a little something like this. He starts the conversation with somebody. They're communicating back and forth about real estate. Everybody's getting along. Everybody's happy. We get to the point where it's time to put him under contract or put him in agreement. He submits the BRBC. And then they don't want to sign, or they take off, or they freak out, or whatever else, something like that. That's my general understanding of it. Michael, you're going to fill us in on a little bit of details. We're going to talk. Yeah, it's too bad we don't have more people on today to kind of get the power of the group going, but you got some good ones here with you right now. So we're going to kind of roundtable and talk about how that might improve for not just you, but for all of us. So ready, Michael? You ready to go?
Yeah, so just yesterday, this lady, I met her at the open house, at Brendan's open house there, and she wasn't represented, and and she said she was working with somebody before, August or July or whatever the time was, and so she didn't have to sign anything with them, and she doesn't like them anymore, and I'm like, well, I'll be glad to help you. It's my passion to help you, achieve your goals. So blah blah blah, and we hit it off, and she's got, she brought 4 children with her, and she's got 2 more, so she, 6. It's 6 of them. I'm like, this is the perfect house for you. You should just buy this one, So.
Oh, hold on, no, hold on, back up. So when you asked her to sign it, what happened? Did she just say,
Well, I didn't
okay,
get that far in the story yet. So, I just met her at the open house. Okay. So, and so
okay.
I sent her I put her on the Real Scout robot, and I talked to her a little bit, and, she's like, and all of a sudden, she's texting me, oh, this is great. This is great. I love this one here. And when I go see it, I'm getting all this communication, and then, I'm like, oh, great, let's have a Zoom meeting, and I'll throw the agency docs at you, and we can go. I can go open the doors for you. And I guess after that, probably what happened is she joined the witness protection program, and that's because everything stopped, and so because I know she wants to see the houses, so there's no really good reason to not communicate with me any further, but. Eventually I got her on the Zoom, and I went through the core, went through the BRBC thing, and she's like, well, I'm going through the core and trying to, tell her how we're going to streamline this, and then I'm sending her a 15-page document. And so, yeah, she still hasn't signed that, and she stopped looking at the, at the Real Scout, and maybe really,
Okay, so let me catch up. So you have the Zoom meeting. You give her the BRBC, you present the BRBC inside of the Zoom meeting.
After the core, I went through the whole core thing.
What's the core?
Core presentation.
The fire presentation. Okay, so you went through the core present, told her how wonderful you were, told her how wonderful we are, how much you're going to make the process easier for her. She's nodding at that point, probably like, yeah, this is great. Okay. Then you put the BRBC in front of her. You ask her to sign it, and we'll get to how you asked to sign it because I'm curious about that.
Sure.
And she ghosts. She leaves. She leaves the meeting without signing the BRBC. She's not looking at Real Scout anymore. She's gone.
No, I didn't sign it with her on the meeting. No, I told her I went over it with it on the Zoom,
Yeah.
page by page, and I explained the whole thing, and let her know how we're gonna work things out as we go. So, this is just really just allows me to open the doors for you, and we're just getting started here. So, if you have any questions about this, let me know, because most people are not they're confused about it. So.
What was her kind of demeanor and kind of response level? What was she like as you were going through the document? Was she participating in the conversation? Could you tell that she was uncomfortable? Any read on that at all?
She, no, not really. She was listening the whole time, and she was there. I think she's like an innocent bystander. But taking, I tried to get her engaged in asking her some questions, and she didn't, kind of telling me she doesn't want a house that's near school, and but her daughter was in there, and she's running the preschool, and I kind of got the impression she just want to get this over with and get on with whatever she was doing. And
okay,
but
all right, let me stop you there, guys. If you don't know Michael, you got to stop him, otherwise he'll just keep going. So what when you talked to her about the compensation, when you got to that part, when you got to the addendum, how did that go? What'd you tell her?
I told her this is the part here that I was telling you about, where we're gonna use a lot of strategies to to have my compensation paid for by the seller, and we have lots of different ways to do that, and we fill out some new forms that it's just part of the negotiation process. And I'm going to try and make it so you don't have to worry too much about it. And it also says here you can cancel this at any time. So it's just a formality.
Okay.
She's like, all right, well, I'll look at it.
Let me ask you one really specific question, and but by the way, there's no right answer to this. So, just tell me what happened. Did you say in any way, shape, or form, or present in any way, shape, or form that, look, I'm going to get paid by the seller. If it gets to the point where I can't get paid by the seller, I'm going to let you know, and you're not going to have to pay me a dime. Did you get to that point with her?
No, I did not. I said, if it doesn't work out where we can't arrange a negotiation with the seller, then yeah, you're on the hook for it. But that's not likely going to happen.
Okay. And so at the end of the meeting, she gives you the okay, I'm going to think about it. You send it off in DocuSign, and at that point, everything goes quiet. She doesn't do the DocuSign. She stops looking at the Real Scout. No more texting, no more calling, no more anything like that.
Even before, as soon as I suggested that we should, Zoom or present the idea of signing any agreements, really, she stopped communicating with me via the text. We were having text message conversations and sending some emails.
Okay, so guys, so this is what we're gonna do now. All right. Michael is going to sit back and listen, and this is not hey, we weren't there to fully qualify this next conversation. We weren't there, but I am really interested based on the information that you've given. And Michael, please understand that we're not, this is an exercise at this point. This is not a statement of fact. Agents, what do you think happened? Okay, based on the information that you heard and based on the way that the story went, your initial take, and most of you have been doing this longer than Michael, so you've seen some things too. What do you think happened?
And I appreciate your candid feedback.
Yeah, no, we're not going to pull any punches here. So what do you think happened? Steve, I'm going to pick on you first. Based on that story, what do you think happened?
Well, I got two quick questions to preface it.
Okay, go.
When she went to the open house, did she sign in that she wasn't a represented buyer? Okay, I see the yes.
Okay, yeah,
Secondly,
yeah.
then secondly, has she been pre-qualified with a loan at all?
She said that she was at the open house. She told me that.
Okay, all right. Well, that kind of
Yeah.
negates, I was going to say that, it sounds like she was just kind of out browsing around and window shopping. And when it came down to brass tacks, she kind of pulled back.
So Steve, your initial gut check response is that high probability that she's a tire kicker and wasn't bona fide.
Correct.
Okay, good input. Brendan, what do you think?
You're on the hook. I think that was the one for me where, you know, hey, if it doesn't work out, I can't get the commission from the seller. You're on the hook. That one might scare me and go, okay, wait a minute, let me do the math real quick. I owe you how much money now if I buy this house? I think there might have been a better way to spin that or talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Your initial take, Brendan, is that she was bona fide, perhaps bona fide, but that the presentation of or the idea of having to potentially come up with compensation dollars sent her running. And she does, and I'll add to that, she probably doesn't know that anybody is going to have that same conversation with her. She might have thought it was just Michael that was operating that way. Okay, good input. Julie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's all those things I was going to bring up, that she might not have been pre-approved. She doesn't really know what she can afford. She did take the time to meet with Michael. So maybe the presentation, the way he put it out there, might have frightened her away. But, there are some lenders, most lenders would allow the seller to provide up to 6% of, seller concessions. But I've been finding that not all of them say that, so I don't know what the maximum level is for, it might be different by lender too. So I think it's really important that you get a letter from her loan officer that says what she is qualified or pre-approved, not qualified, but pre-approved to
Ask
purchase.
for all that too.
Yeah.
For sure. And maybe that scared her away. I put the BFPI in front of her as well.
So
and
maybe the whole
she told me
process
she's,
could have been a little bit smoother.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is just a learning experience, and we're all learning. So we're learning from your experience, how we can do things better in this environment. Yeah. So we'll talk some more. This is all good. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to unmute myself. So good, Julie, thank you. Michael, let me ask one more thing before we drop to Jessica. Did I hear you say that you put the VFPI in front of her too? Was that part of your BRBC package?
BRBC, the addendum, and then the BFPI was all part of the conversation as we went through the core presentation. We specifically talked about her VA loan and making sure that we find properties that match those needs. And I let her know about my experience as a loan officer, and we got a whole team here full of experts. So
Can I jump in right there? You said that she has a opportunity to use VA loan. And this property, was it a property that was being sold by a VA seller?
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
No, it does matter, because VA loans are assumable, right? So they could actually be getting a better rate through the seller if they can assume the loan. Same thing with FHA loans. So I think, if you're going to hold a house open, you might want to know if it's an assumable loan or if it's a VA loan or something. I never thought about that. She might have just gone straight to she didn't sign anything. She might have gone straight to the seller and got a better, deal.
She hasn't really looked at it. I met her at Brendan's property, and she wants to go look at some other ones.
Uh-huh.
So she doesn't have any specific one in mind that I know of yet. I was gonna go show her one that she saw that, that was actually an auction, listing. So I told her about, this is an auction listing, the price that's listed on there is 200, but the auction shows that it's up to over 600 now. So, let's keep looking.
Hold
Let me-
on, it was an auction prop that was at the top of her list?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't ask that earlier. Okay.
And that's hard to know also too, until you
cash.
get into the confidentiality remarks, right? Where the buyer shopping never knows that it's an auction prop until the buyer's agent can identify that for them.
Right, unless they find it on one of the auction sites
Yeah,
instead of
right, correct.
realtor.com or something like that. Okay, Jessica, give us your take on what you heard.
You have to be.
I mean,
Thank you. Well, one thing that I have learned is that us Jensens can honestly be a lot for people. She might just need some time to digest everything. I had to, the first few transactions I did, I actually had to step back and ask them if they wanted the information because they were getting overwhelmed with me giving them all of the information because I was trying to be transparent. So, and make sure that I covered my butt, being honest with them and sitting through it with them. I think the most recent transaction I had, the person literally was like, I trust you. I don't want to look at that. Please stop. And I still made her, I went and sat in her office at work and I made her, I was like, no, you're signing this stuff. You're signing your life away here. You need to see what I'm making you sign. So I just made her go through it once. Like from now on, every time we put in an offer, you'll know what you're signing. But like, I'm not letting you just sign this without reading it. Like, so it could just be really a lot. Like she said, don't ever do that again. I understand now, like we're comfortable like that. But if someone doesn't know me, they're not gonna tell me, please hold, I need a minute. So just let her digest and check in is what I was thinking. I mean, everyone already covered all the other bases that it could be, the client's fault, but we are a lot. So maybe give her a few minutes and then check in like, hey, what do you think?
That's a good tip for all of us. I know I can talk ad nauseum about it.
I said, check in with her, say, let's go check out the property and bring the thing for her to sign,
I think that was the other thing I was going to bring up is if you can, how notaries
okay,
they
so
go through,
yeah, that's a good point. Hang
they
on,
could
guys.
go
Let me
through
get
each
caught up
page
in
and just
making
condense everything into a really quick, like
uh,
this page says that you're going to be doing, this is saying this, and then you go to the next
Mm.
page, and this is saying
Okay.
this. You just need to sign right
Um,
here. I think
okay.
that might be easier.
Let me I don't know what to think. I've got a couple of options, mostly because I think everybody got up good points of what could happen. Okay. But here's what I got so far. The first one that Steve said was we got a tire kicker. Okay. The second one that Brendan said was we've got compensation questions, right? Did the compensation discussion scare this person off? One of the things that I grabbed onto and made a note of was that the VFPI was also part of the conversation. Does everybody know what that is? Not if you know what that form is. Shake your head if you don't. Okay. It's a fairly new form. It's basically a verification of the financial position of the buyer. It can be a lot. Okay. It asks a lot of questions so that we understand fully what the buyer's financial situation is, their ability to purchase a house, and their potential ability to be able to pay a commission if need be. I wrote down auction property because this one's happened to me a lot in the past. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit about that too. Brendan's right. Unless you have a really savvy customer that knows how to go out and look at one of the auction sites from the asset holding companies, they won't know it's an auction prop until you tell them that it is, right? Because that shows up in the confidential remarks. However, if they figure out that it's an auction property and maybe they don't like the conversation you had about commission, they don't need you to go put an offer on that property. Okay. They can go do it. They shouldn't, especially at an auction site,
It's too
because
much.
that's a
It's
slippery.
way out of our budget now.
Okay. Well, right, done. And then Jessica brought up the part about coming in hot. Okay. We all have a tendency to do, well, not we all. You guys have a tendency to do that. I certainly have a tendency to do that. You know, I've been warned off about that more times than I can count. I've seen the look on Brendan's face when I come in too hot, you know, like, you know, I mean, coming in hot, passionate about what we do, want to get this thing done, want to get it done for you. That can be really, really dangerous. And then, I put on another note at the bottom that says, you know, maybe also based on Jessica's comment, maybe you just did too much planning, right? So let me throw a couple of things out there, shotgun, and then we'll talk about it. I think that the best way to find out if someone's a tire kicker is to drop the contract on them, right? So in any situation, if I think somebody's kicking tires and they're not bona fide, I'm looking for some kind of contract to drop on them, because if they don't sign it, then I know right away that they're not bona fide. So potentially in this scenario, how we could have weeded out a tire kicker before we got too far with them would be to say in our initial conversation at the open house, yeah, I'd love to work with you. I'd love to set you up to search some properties. I'd love to get you kind of integrated into my search and into my customer queue. Before I can do that, we got to do this, right? Now that wouldn't be my instinct. That wouldn't be my instinct. Michael, I would have handled it just like you. I would have gotten him into Real Scout. I would have gotten him into KV Core. I would have sent him some data. I would have been having a conversation. I would have been building that bridge. And then I would go to the BRBC just like you did.
Soon as she has to open the door.
What?
I never present that until they asked me to open the door.
Right. I would have done it exactly the same way. However, I think in our toolbox, as we get our radar out, if Steve thinks, oh, I don't know, man, I might have a tire kicker here, I don't know how much I want to go, then just drop the contract on them. You'll find out real quick whether or not they are. The compensation conversation is hard, okay? And it's mostly hard because it's new. It's new. I think what we have to do, and this is not to be shady, okay? This is to be very, very simple. I think what we have to do is we have to say, look, I have to tell you that you could potentially be required to pay me some money, but I also need to tell you that that's not going to happen, and here's why. You need to understand that I have to tell you that, but you also need to understand clearly that that's never going to happen, and here's why it's never going to happen. But Damian, does that mean that potentially you could get down the road and write an offer in the SPBB form and they could say no and you could be out? Yeah, that means that. That absolutely means that. But I'm sticking to my word at that point. I'm saying you're not going to pay me. If the seller doesn't pay me, I'm not getting paid. Okay? If that means that we can't find something that works for me with a seller with an offer, which I think is highly unlikely, by the way. Okay? Highly unlikely. If we're in that position, then yeah, I'm going to bow out. And then the client's got some decisions to make about how they pursue it. But I'm keeping to my word, you're not going to pay me. All right? And I think you need to lean into that, especially in the beginning of this, since it's so new for everybody. And it seems to me that the buyer's biggest fear around any of it ever is, wait, I have to pay, right? So if we can address that, if we can get that one out of the way, then maybe, just maybe, we can get off that. Julie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, Damian, and everybody, if that's the case, and you tell the customer, don't worry about it, you're never going to pay anything, but the seller is going to offer these, you know, you're not telling them, just telling you that the seller is going to offer these credits for the buyer, but the buyer can use them to pay for whatever they want.
No, they can't. No, they can't.
They can actually use it towards their closing costs. It doesn't necessarily have to be for your, unless you put it in there, right, in the buyer broker agreement.
Hold on, stop. If it's on the SPBB form, the only thing that those credits can be used for is to pay a buyer's broker, period. Period.
Okay, on the SPB. All right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
That's the form that we have to submit with a purchase offer if we want the seller to pay us, pay a concession to the buyer that the buyer gives to us for purposes of commission. If it's on that form and the seller signs off on it and the buyer signs off on it, the only thing that that credit can be used for is to pay a buyer's broker. It's not a typical and historical recurring, non-recurring closing cost credit. It's a very, very specific credit.
Cool.
Yep. VFPI. Okay. VFPI. I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't use it. I understand that it's important, and I think it's really, really professional, and I think it's you're going way above and beyond, Michael, but I think it's too much information, and unless the buyer's super savvy, throw it away. Don't use it. It's just going to scare them. It's just going to scare them. And then as far as, you know, coming in hot, how to tone it down, how to tone yourself down, boy, you're working with the wrong dude. You're going to have to find somebody that you can mirror with, or that Brendan would be good. Brendan is totally different. That you can give a spiel to, that can tell you, oh, that's too much. Like, consider doing it like this. And that's exactly how he would say it. He would never make you feel bad. He would say, boy, that was really, really good. But you know, I mean, you're just way, way, way too aggressive, and consider doing it like this. I went to prove my point. I went to one appointment with Michael. You know, we were talking to a potential seller. Michael was doing his best. He was coming in a little hot. He was doing his best. He was being aggressive with the guy. And I just finally got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. And I just pummeled the guy. You know, I mean, I just took off and I pummeled the guy. And the guy was like, ah. You know, but it's like, you're either going to sign or die. I don't care. Like, something's going to happen. So I think that yeah, he said, I think that you also have that in you, Michael. So that Jessica's right. There could be something to that. You could have come in a little hot, and I think that maybe taking 15 minutes or so at a different time and getting on a Zoom or getting face to face with somebody like Brendan or somebody like Steve that maybe isn't quite such a driver, to give you an honest review and take on what you say would be very, very valuable. And that's not a shot on anybody. We all need
And
to,
how I say it.
yeah, and how you say it. We all need to do that shit. We have to practice, and we have to work on it. And we have to do it a lot. Otherwise, it becomes a struggle, right? In this business or any business, if you're constantly thinking about what you want to say and how you want to say it, and it doesn't just roll off, and you don't have it kind of polished and honed and everything else, particularly when you're asking somebody for money, you can get yourself in trouble. You can get yourself in trouble. That's my overall take. Anybody else want to add to that? Some points to that, or some thoughts on that, or on the process in general?
I think it all was very good. Maybe the what's it, the VFPI, a bit much probably is. I would save that for another conversation down the line. And I would, instead of going, hey, you might be on the hook for this, I would just reassure them that don't worry about this. We are going to get the seller to pay for the commission some way or another. On this one that we just put into escrow that Michael did the open houses on, I told them up front, I said, be prepared when you receive offers, you were going to get compensation request from the buyer's agent. Be prepared for it. So they knew it was coming. The gentleman submitted a 3% with his offer, and he knew he wasn't getting 3%, but he took a shot at it, I think, because he knew that there was going to be some negotiation that went on with it. The sellers came back and said, we'll give him 1.5. They eventually, after a lot of song and dance and talking, they came up to 2, and we settled on 2. And in this new world where I would go with all of this is having faith that we're going to get paid. It might not be exactly what you want or what you're used to at the 2.5%. And I told them too, I said, industry standard is 2.5. I actually, went to bat for the buyer's agent and tried to get them up for him, going, hey, 2.5 is where we're always at. They went up to 2, and he was okay with that. But I would definitely let them know, your buyers know, hey, have faith. I'm going to get this paid for you. And if you end up at 1.5, what are you going to do? And if your buyer does not have the funds to pay you, what are you going to do? I'd take the 1.5, unfortunately, and run and go, now you owe me a referral.
I mean, absolutely correct. What are you going to do? Let's be honest, especially in this climate that we're in right now. I mean, if somebody says, hey, all I can get is one, some seller's agent says all you can get is 1.5, and you've gone through the exercise a couple of times, you got to have a hole in your head if you're going to run from it at that point. Like you're going to do that deal and ask for a referral. You're going to do it with a smile, do it professionally.
I may go so far as also to contact the loan officer and go, hey, what are funds looking like? These guys have a lot of reserves. What are we working with here? I'm just curious, if they can go higher, or in case we need to go, beat out another offer. And they may clue you in on, oh, they got a ton of reserves. They may go, hey, we are squeaking by. They have nothing. And that'll give you another indication on whether you can ask them for a little bit of money. Maybe you get 1.5 from the seller, and you go, hey, buyer, would you please come up? Would you pay me 0.5% so that I can get to that 2% mark if they have enough funds? So I think it's a chess match. You just got to work in a lot of different ways.
Let me throw another scenario by you about compensation, right? And this is one that we talked about before, but I think it deserves a refresh. And that is this. Brendan brought this point up really early in these conversations, but let's use round numbers. The house is $400,000. Okay. House is $400,000. You want 2.5%. Okay. You get in a negotiation, you write an offer for $400,000 with an SPBB form of 2.5. Okay. 2.5. Listing agent calls you back and says they don't want to pay, 2.5, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it is not unreasonable for you to say, I need to get paid to do this transaction. Why don't you focus on net and write us a counter? Okay. From the buyer's point of view, that might be a counter that comes back at 400 plus 2.5 or whatever. But after that first round where it comes back 400 and 2.5%, and I don't have a calculator, so I can't do the math. Now we've kind of taken strategically between your request and the listing agent, you've taken your request off the table, and now you're talking about a price, right? Now you're talking about a price. Keep that in your mind when you're talking about the fact that you're going to do whatever it takes to get your commission paid. I don't want to use that word, to get your compensation paid by the seller when you're talking to the buyer up front. Know that you have options. Know that there's, more than one way to skin a cat, and know that you can go after it. And like Brendan says, know that you can come down if you need to come down. Nobody wants to, but we've all done it. I mean, we've all done it on both sides of the transaction.
Yeah, and actually, too, in this scenario, he wrote it for 3%. And we had a bit of a laugh because, after we talked about the seller compensating him, he goes, well, I thought I'd take a shot at it, and it was a good starting point in case I had to negotiate. He goes, I've never been paid 3% on the buyer's end anyway. So
yeah. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go.
I would probably do the same thing. I was thinking about that the other day. If I'm going to submit an offer, representing the buyer, and I know that I want to get at least 2.5%, I would probably put 3%. But now what you're saying is almost like a lot of sellers might just half your commission. So maybe you ask for more. Maybe you ask for 3.5, maybe even 4. I think that's going to happen a lot more frequently.
Well, be careful though, Julie, because whatever percentage you ask for cannot exceed the percentage that you have listed on the BRBC. So this is one big giant circle, right?
Right.
You're going to be able to, if you want to be in position to ask for 4, that means you have to get a buyer to sign a BRBC at 4.
Right, I know. But if you're telling them they're not going to pay, could you revise the BRBC later and say,
down, not up? That's the answer to your question.
You can go down, right?
You can go down, not up. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. I'm just kind of wondering there might be a new trend on that. Who knows?
Hey, I like the strategy. Execute your BRBC at 6. That's
right. Yeah.
I think it's a great
Maybe
strategy
you'll
as well.
agree.
I would be careful on that. If you know, do your homework, make sure you're not in a multiple offer situation and you get kicked out of the round, the first
About
round of
that
offers
too.
in the
Yeah.
first place.
But I
That's
think
the
You gotta be
kicker.
careful about that.
I think it's going to
Yes.
become so common that that'll just be, people are just going to negotiate it anyway, that they're going to start seeing more, when the right environment comes, right, they're going to start seeing more people, buyer agents, saying that they want more. If you get any EXP realtors, they're all going to want 3%. They'll ask for the stars in the moon.
But they're idiots. They went to the little virtual frickin'
Yeah,
hall
exactly.
thing and,
But I'm starting to see more listings around. So, and they're selling fast around my area. So I might start forming my own area,
you absolutely should. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it. The climate, in my opinion, does a complete 180 from where it is today in probably mid-January to early February. All hell breaks loose, honestly, is what's going to happen. There is so much pent-up activity right now that's been put on hold for any number of reasons. And, after we get through all of the BS that we're dealing with on November 5th, and after we get through the holidays that come in short order after that, people are going to go nuts. So, you better buckle up. It's about to get real busy. Real busy, which is gonna, damn it, we're out of time. It's gonna take me to my next. Well, I'm gonna cover it real quick unless anybody's got somewhere to be. You guys got anywhere to be? Other
Just
than
real quick.
who's
Really
playing tonight? Vikings are playing tonight. Yeah,
I have to
Vikings.
tell you one more
And the
thing.
Rams, Brendan's team. Brendan's team's gonna get whooped by the Purple People Eaters. Oh my God. Okay.
We're used to it at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Brendan's team.
What I really want you to focus on right now, and I heard this in one of my podcasts this morning in a speech by Nick Saban. Does anybody know who Nick Saban is besides me? He just retired. He was the coach. He's a college football coach, winningest college football coach in history. Coached at LSU, did a real good job there, and then finished off his career coaching at the University of Alabama. Every statistical number that has to do with winning, he is at the top. Okay, he is at the top. And he talked about something that I thought was really pertinent to where we are in real estate today. And that is, at this point in time, you have to be process driven rather than results driven. Okay. Results driven is, did I close a transaction this week? No, I did not. Oh, I'm a failure. Okay. Process driven is, what do I need to do to put myself in position to win over and over and over and over again? And that's truly where we are right now, because right now, if you equate it to football, there's very few games being played, but all of that's going to change. So right now, if you like sports and you like football or you like baseball, pick a sport. They all have training camps, okay? At the beginning, before their season kicks off, they all have training camps. And right now is kind of like camp. You're going to do all the hard work. You're going to plant all the seeds. You're going to work the process for conditioning, for farming, for lead gen, for following up with your sphere, for making sure that you're in contact with all of your potential sellers, all of your potential buyers, even if they aren't doing anything right now. You're going to make sure that you're in contact with all of your sphere. You're going to make sure you're doing all the things that we talk about doing and we never do because we're too busy to do it. Well, now's the time. You're going to be doing all that. You're going to be process driven, because when it cuts loose, all of that will come to you, right? All of that will come to you. So right now, I am not kidding you, and Brenda could tell you the same thing, and we're doing a shitty job at it. We've probably got each of us over 100 seller leads in our queue right now that they just aren't selling because they're just not going to sell. Okay. We should be working those on a weekly basis and doing all the things we need to do to stay in front of those people, because I bet you on February 15th, they are going to sell. Okay. Same could be said of buyers. If you're not prospecting your buyers right now, if you're not in front of your buyers, and buyers are frustrating. For me, if they don't buy a house in 30 days, I don't want them anymore, right? Like, do not make me go through this shit for another 60, 90 days. I really don't. I don't. I'm not afraid to admit it. But almost every buyer in everybody's book is that buyer right now, right? You've got to stay in front of them. You've got to stay vigilant with them. You've got to keep working them. You've got to pretend like, mentally they're just about to write an offer. You've got to be that dedicated to them, because when it all breaks loose, they're going to buy. Okay. The other people are going to sell. But if you're not working that process right now, you're not going to be the guy or the gal that harvests that on pick a date. I'm going to say February 15th. Okay. So as shitty as this market is, and as frustrating as it is, and as hard as we're all working for very little result, you just got to stick with the process, because it will pay in very early spring in 2025. I'm going on record and saying it. Very early spring 2025, all this crap goes away, and we reconcile. We get caught up. Okay. If you're only doing 1 or 2 transactions, in early spring of 2025, you haven't done anything for the past 6 months. Okay. I feel like the people that have done a real good job of working their business and doing everything, people like Steve, I bet Steve's going to do 4 or 5 transactions in the first 60 days of the year. Yeah, I don't doubt it. Brendan's going to do the same thing.
The God's ears.
What's that?
The God's ears.
It's God's ears. It's just, you got to be process minded right now, and you got to realize that right now you're working a process, and right now you're not going to get a lot of yield. It doesn't matter how hard you go. And I'm going to give you one example that Brendan and I stumbled across today that's going to blow your mind. It's going to absolutely blow your mind. We did a data poll on agents. We pulled 2 of the biggest brokerages, well, not 2 of the biggest brokers, 2 large brokerages in Sacramento under one name. I'm not going to say who it is, but it's a name that everybody knows. 2 offices, pulled all their agent data, came up with 164 roster agents. 164 roster agents, okay? 164 agents on the roster. Tell me, give me your best guess. How many transactions is that office? How many sides? Everybody knows what a side is, right? You represent a buyer, that's one side. You represent a seller, that's one side. You represent both, that's 2 sides. Okay. How many sides did those 164 agents do in the past 12 months, and how much dollar volume? Best guess. How many sides? 164 agents, name brand. Big name brand. Huh?
It was Coldwell Banker.
It's not Coldwell Banker, I will tell you that.
It was, what else has really big ones around here?
Doesn't matter. Just give me the number of sides and the volume.
I would hope it's at least 1,000 sides.
1,000 sides.
You're looking at 4 per minimum.
Okay, so 1,000 sides, and 1,000 sides would be somewhere around, oh God, I can't even do it. $400 million in volume? Yeah. 400 million dollars. Good. All right, give me another guess. Michael, what do you got?
I don't think I understand what the question is.
How many transactions did 160 agents do in a year? Total.
Okay. I would say
I'm going to say
the last year?
Yeah, last 12 months.
160. Oh, for the whole year.
Yeah, total.
Man. 500.
500.
Yeah.
Okay. Steve's got 1,000. Michael's got 500. Julie, what do you got?
250.
250. Brendan, give him the real number.
34.
Wow.
I think 250 is high. I was going to say 100.
34 out of 160 active agents. There were
Oh, really?
there were only 10 agents that did any business.
Yeah, I was going high and saying maybe 50% of them actually did anything, but I don't think they.
They're hurting.
Total volume, Brendan, was how many million? It was low. What was it? 40?
Those people are hurting.
This is 2 name brand offices, downtown Sacramento. One's on K Street, one's on Howe.
20 million, just under 21 million.
20 million.
Was it Lion?
Oh,
Or-
I'm not going to tell you who it was, but it's
I really want to know. I can find out.
it's big. I'm going to tell you that they're big. Okay.
Oh,
At one point in time, they were biggest. Okay, that should tell you who it is right now.
when were they the biggest?
And hey, I'm telling you right now, I don't think you guys give enough credit to the fact.
I
Steve,
haven't heard of the new
credit.
Dunnigan in a really long time, and I was in Sacramento near my dad's house, and I saw this sign for Dunnigan, and I went, "Man, I haven't heard that in a million years." You know.
And I bring this up for this reason. Steve, you don't give yourself enough credit. You had the best year of your real estate career in the worst year possible.
And hearing that number is astounding for one. And then to know how, I mean, I did 5 sides.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not the Lone Ranger here, obviously.
No,
You are
no.
way above average.
Yeah.
I told you guys that the average in Placer County, the numbers aren't in yet because it runs on a calendar year, but the average in Placer County is going to be less than 1.5. I promise you. It's going to be less than 1.5 sides per agent. That's going to be the average. All right. So the bottom line is this. It sucks. It's been a horrible year. 2024 has been a horrible year. It's been horrible, and it was supposed to be good, and it was freaking horrible. All right. We're at the bottom, folks. We're at the bottom. Okay. You've got to stay process minded and process oriented so that when this thing turns around, you're in a position to grab. Okay. You're in position to grab. If you want to know what that looks like more, message me individually. We can talk about that. I'm happy to look at what you're doing to see if, you know, that it's in alignment with what I'm saying. And we're also happy to share with you some data and tell you what the commission program is on that data if you want to try and farm that as well. So I'm going to give you one more hint, and then don't say anything, because I put this shit on the internet and I don't want anybody to say anything. It's 2 letters, okay? And it absolutely blew our mind. We talked about it for a half an hour. Like, that can't be right.
Letters.
Yep.
Initials of somebody.
Yeah.
To piggyback, something that resonated with me today when Damian and myself were talking was he's talking about processes, and one of the most important things he said was start. You have got to start. Whatever your farm is, whatever you're thinking, stop overthinking it. Just go to work. Just start doing something.
It's never going to be perfect. So our nature is to want to have our program set up right, or to have our information set up right, or to have our whatever set up right. And there will always be something else, one more thing, 2 more things that as soon as I get those set up right, I'm going to go for it. That is bullshit. Pick up the phone and go to work. Pick up the phone and start. Get out on your feet and start. Get started and figure out the answers to the questions that come up later. Okay? There's 2 kinds of people in the world. Aim, fire. Okay? The other kind is fire, aim. All right? Our business requires the latter. Okay? Because if you don't, someone else will. And we all know there's not that much pie to go around, right? So if there's only 3 opportunities in the world, and you're sitting back planning and trying to start and trying to get going or whatever, and 2 other agents go, screw it, I'm getting out there, and they go out there, those 3 opportunities are gone. Look, he's surrounded. Those 3 opportunities are gone. By the time you get to work, they're gone. Okay. So thank you for bringing that up, Brandon. Stop talking about it and start doing something about it. Okay. As soon as you get that, you're gonna you're going to be in position because most agents right now are so wrapped up in complaining about how bad it is, or wondering what to do, or wondering what the next hack, I hate that word, next hack or silver bullet is. They're not doing anything. Okay, get out ahead of them. Get out ahead of them. Just start, get going. All right, any questions? I'm 6 minutes over. Sorry to keep you too long. We got dogs everywhere. Steve's got dogs. Julie's got dogs. Jessica's got dogs.
It's past dinner time.
Yeah, past dinner time. You saw Jessica get up because these dogs were screaming, "Feed me!" So yeah, all right. I'm gonna click the button. If you need me, you know how to get a hold of me. Other than that, hey Brendan, go Vikings.